Hello. My wife said that these Bang energy drinks work really well, but they give her gastrointestinal distress. So she said, you should try it. So I tried one. We're going to see if I'm exploding toilet bowls later. One of my arch nemesis, who probably doesn't know I exist, is Michelle Avila. That name may ring a bell. I've made several videos on her. She was elected. If you go to my channel and you look up Crazy Face or something like that, or this is what crazy looks like, I don't remember exactly, but that was the first video I did on her. I did it after her arrest of Padilla. She could have had a valid arrest, but she's incompetent. She's not only corrupt, she's incompetent, which is an intoxicating mixture. So she arrested. This is a bit confused. So let's start at the beginning. So Michelle Vela responded to a call where Padilla was in a tax assessor's office, or whatever Texas's version of that is, in Bexar County. And I believe he had just left when she showed up with her lieutenant, and they tried to ID Padilla. Instead of just trespassing him and say, hey, you can't go back in there, we're giving you an official criminal trespass, blah blah blah, they decided that he was giving him too much lip, and they arrested him for contempt of cop. Failing to ID. And at the time I thought, well, it's probably a valid arrest, but then I find out that they just arrested him for failure to ID, and I'm like, how can this lady be this incompetent? Like, what's going on? And I did a little bit of research, and I find out that she is a very incompetent person. She did have law enforcement history, but she has. So my understanding of the constable position in Texas, in the various counties, is that essentially it's like they're supposed to do all the shit work that the sheriffs can't be bothered to do. They're supposed to serve civil papers and act as like support for sheriff's deputies, as bailiffs, or maybe they're bailiffs in the justice of the peace courts or something like that. The real low tier courts where you're not dealing with hardened criminals and stuff. They're shit tier law enforcement. Apparently, you don't have to have any law enforcement experience to be elected as a constable. You're supposed to get some training by the end of it, or by like a year in or something. You're supposed to have a certain amount of training. It's pretty pathetic, and I've never honestly seen a constable that I thought was worth a shit. I'm looking at you, Damon Chief Jones, who isn't even an elected constable or a working constable. He just has an honorary title. Anyway, my point is. So she was incompetent. I looked her up. Lots of corrupt kind of things. Like, she was getting into fights with the justice of the peace. She wasn't providing security when that was like her fucking job. Like, that's half her job, is to just provide the security for the Justice of the Peace Court. And then later on, I think I did another one on her. One of her officers, one of her constables, accused her of inappropriate conduct. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he ended up recording her when she was disciplining him, and she's just a real terrible person. And then the third video I did on her was the Leon Valley traffic. There was an accident, I believe. Leon Valley had responded to it. Vela arrived with her clown car full of cops, and they took over the scene, and they were trying to force the EMT to take blood to test for marijuana. They said they smelled marijuana. None of the other officers on the scene smelled it. I mean, it was just like they were actively trying. They were doing their best to violate this lady's Fourth Amendment rights. It was mind blowing to me how this could be going on. And in my opinion, I mean, I've done 3 videos. This is going to be the 4th video I've done on her. In my opinion, she is probably the most corrupt thing in that county, period. You guys don't like Salvaggio, I get it. He's definitely overzealous in the way he enforces the law, and his arresting those witnesses who he later claims are suspects was a tad beyond questionable. I mean, that was pretty bad. But like, you could at least make an argument that he's trying to enforce the law. Like, he's not. I mean, he talked to DAs and things like that. He talked to the county attorneys. His investigation is going forward. It's surviving stay attempts by the plaintiffs. I mean, there is something to what he's doing, which, you know, there's at least a shred of reasonableness to what he's done. I mean, it's in there. It's not. Again, but my point is that, like, he's not out there, like, he didn't, like, try to draw blood from any of the people he arrested, you know, in violation of the Fourth Amendment or anything like that. So the capper is someone posted in my Discord, XYZ fan. He has a lot of access to government files and things like that. So I pay attention when he posts stuff. And he posted it was just a San Antonio Express link, I think. And know her. Anyway, there's a San Antonio Express article, and Barkin Avila was featured in it. And she's one of 2 elected constables that counties in Texas are trying to get rid of. Apparently, her latest debacle was just pure corruption. It was just there's no shred of is this lawful behavior at all. It was just pure corruption. A gentleman had reserved a spot in a park for Easter for him and his family. Barkin Avila shows up with her lieutenant and says, no, this is for my family. You need to move. And he says, no. And fine, she says. You get to pay me $50 an hour for protection. And yes, I just did air quotes. That's like a mafia shakedown. That is pure corruption. So apparently the county is going to bring misconduct charges against her, and I hope they follow that up with other charges, because what she has done doing that's just despicable. They've got to get a DA in there who's creative enough to make sure that that's a fucking crime. I mean, I'm not a Texas prosecutor, but that's got to be a crime. That's got to be a crime. You can't charge someone protection money if they refuse to give up the park site that they've reserved. I mean, fuck. Anyway, where are you going with this, John? It's a good question, and I'm glad you asked. Where I'm going with this is there's a lot of auditors, and I mean a lot. Like, San Antonio is a fairly active hub for auditors. You've got GED Jack. I think Beta Steve's down in that area, if you could call him an auditor. I mean, he's done some audits, I guess. I think he prefers the talking head position more, because then he gets to talk shit without actually putting his ass on the line. You've got Southside Slacker down there. You've got Todd Ferguson, what is his name? SA Ecstasy Prez, Mexican Padilla. You've got a lot of auditors down there. And amazingly enough, surprisingly enough, Texas Wolfman's down there. All these auditors, and they haven't really done anything on this. Period. Real police corruption, nothing. Now, I'm not trying to direct what auditors do or how they do it, what they choose to do as their activism, and what they choose to disregard. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, and you know what they feel is important to protest or record or whatever is up to them. But I just find it odd that level of corruption goes undetected, and instead they have to make up stories and things about other people and try to make a cop, you know, reporting or responding to a call of a suspicious person. They try to make that into, you know, some heinous violation of their Fourth Amendment right. So that's one very interesting thing. The other interesting thing I find is that it ends up being the state, because of the complaint of just Joe Public. It is the state that is going to fix the situation. The state is going to step in and prosecute Michelle Barrientos Vela for misconduct. The government is whatever, the county. You know what I'm talking about. When I say state, I just mean the government. For all the kudos, for all the slaps on the backs, for all the, you know, seal applause that these auditors get, they have been surprisingly ineffective. Surprisingly ineffective. For all the time and energy and money that they get and they expend, they achieve essentially no results. It is as though nothing positive has happened. I mean, people are going to be like, "Oh, turn of driver." Well, there were other cases in other circuits that evolved without activists running around. I mean, Glick v. Kniff wasn't involving an activist. Fordyce versus Seattle wasn't involving an activist. None of the other ones involved activists that I'm aware of. Only Turner v. Driver. So resting your laurels on Turner v. Driver as the shining beacon of what auditors can do is disappointing. It's disappointing. Anyway, that's it. That's all I really had for you today. I hope Michelle Barrientos Vela is found to have committed misconduct. I hope she is removed from office. I hope she is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I fully support the prosecution throwing the book at her. And I hope she goes to jail. Prison preferably, but I'll settle for jail. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.